You know, as an angler, every time you go out on the water, weather is an important factor that really determines how fish move in any given body of water in their feeding activity. You know, for smallmouth bass in the North Country, I prefer flat, calm, and hot and sunny. Gets those smallmouths right up on tops of the reefs. Muskies, clouds and overcast with a big storm blowing in, that gets those big predators chewing. But right now, we're fishing for king salmon, and that's a little bit of a different story with kings.
It's a big different story because the weather doesn't affect whether kings are going to bite or not, because they have to eat.
They're eating machines.
They are, but it will affect where they are and how we present to them. So the keys in weather and salmon fishing is finding the fish and then what presentations. But they will bite when you get it right.
Well, let's see if those storms are out of here, get the boat in and get rolling.
A lot of people think of weather as being unpredictable. Well, it is and it isn't. Some weather patterns can be quite predictable. In the spring and summer, about every 3 to 5 days or so, northwest winds blow down out of Canada. These are the leading edge of a steady train of fronts that roll through eastern Wisconsin. These fronts produce a series of prevailing offshore winds.
All through the summer, you get conditions where you get a few days of offshore winds, and what happens is it blows all that warm surface water out and it pushes on the other side of the lake, and that coldest water that's at the bottom of the lake comes up on the shore the wind's blowing from. So you get real cold water and it's instantaneous. The bait comes in and the salmon follow them. It's not a trickle in. So if you say a few days of offshore winds, you're going to have cold water, and the bait and the salmon are going to show up right then. It happens all through the summer. You'll see shore fishermen, the piers will be empty for days and days and days. They know they've got warm water in there. All of a sudden, a couple days of offshore winds, and the piers are full, and these guys are jamming on salmon.
Wind is a complex part of the angling equation. For warm water species like bass, walleyes, and muskies, fishermen prefer moderate wind blowing onto the underwater structures they're fishing. The reason? Wind concentrates plankton, activates baitfish, and in turn, shallow feeding. Throughout the summer in the Great Lakes, onshore wind piles up warm water that pushes the salmon out because they're a cold water species. Hard offshore wind brings upwellings of cold water, enabling salmon and trout to feed shallow.
You know, I spend a lot of time chasing these salmon around from shallow water to deep water. And over the years, I've developed this theory about open water predators. And what they do is they like to eat. And so they choose to eat in areas where they can eat as much as they can, as quickly as they can. So my theory is that whenever they get the opportunity, they want to feed, there he is, ooh, I lost him. They want to feed in as shallow water as possible, because what it does is it compresses the vertical distance that they need to feed in. In 100 feet of water, they can feed anywhere from the top to the bottom. In 30 feet of water, there's a lot less room to cover, and they can eat a lot more, a lot faster. And when given that opportunity, that's what they prefer to do. So when you get cold water coming into the shallow water like this, those fish follow it. They want to be there. They want to be as shallow as they can because they want to compress that vertical distance that they have to feed in.
I like that. That didn't take too long, Mr. Porter.
It took longer than I thought it was going to.
Did it? What?
Yeah, I didn't think it was going to take that long. I was getting a little disappointed with that.
He's a pretty one there. Look at that guy. That did not take too long. There we go. Okay. Yes, you noticed my net? I did bring the appropriate
You brought
net.
the right size net for the first time, I think, and I've ever fished with you.
Yeah.
You got the right size net.
Mr. Porter, he doesn't like it when I bring in too small a nets. Look at that guy. Boy, are they pretty. Can we let this guy go, or do we want to keep this guy?
Whatever you want to do, James.
I think we're gonna let this guy.
We're gonna fish bags.
We're gonna keep some of them, but we're gonna let this guy. This is the first one. Boy, they're beautiful fish. I haven't caught a king salmon in a long time. Boy, they are gorgeous, aren't they? We'll get her back in the water real quick. Come here, buddy. Come here, buddy.